We are here, of course, to talk about Leave On Night number 6, happening in the Sugar Club on April 20th. So you guys know stranger to Leave On Night. You enthralled the crowd back in 2016. How important was it for you guys to take part in a night of celebrating Leave On Hell?
I suppose what I'd say is that there are two things at least that are very important. But the first thing would be supporting for the cause, you know, the Irish Cancer Society, and the fact that unfortunately, sadly, we've all been touched by that, and it's very close to home. So it's really significant in that regard. But also then to mark the memory of, and the very fond memories of Leave On and the band. And then for us, I would suggest, for example, that our connection with the band and with Leave On Helm kind of goes back through quite a few years. I mean, apart from the fact that growing up, I would have heard the band as, you know, from being a little kid and growing up, and that music is so much a part of my personal history.
Yes.
Then toward the end of the end of the 80s and early 90s, by virtue of music and by virtue of playing blues with a guitar player, Becky, who was originally from the US, and she lived in Woodstock. So we went over and toured over there in the US at that time, and we spent our time, we had maybe, I think, about 3, 4, 6, 5 weeks over based in Woodstock in the town. So that was sort of like one of these remarkable things that you think, wow, this is really the Woodstock.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we met Rick Danko, of course, and Leave On, and got to hang with those guys. We were staying with Mike Esposito of the Blues Magoos, and the whole town was a big musical community, not unlike the gig, you know, we're involved in here. There's a great community of musicians who all come together for this night. And Woodstock had that. You'd meet people at 3 a.m. in the supermarket.
That was always
Maria Moldauer out shopping for cookies. And
as we were talking earlier on, we were saying that the gigs in Woodstock tended to start late. They were late gigs, and everything started late.
Or very, very early.
So it was one of those situations you find yourself wandering around these enormous supermarkets, US supermarkets, and they were rolling along in the trolley with the cookies and whatever else is needed. At 3 a.m. is Maria. Oh, hi. But again, I think that feeling of community, that's the one thing that struck me, and it has repeatedly in recent times, where we've been lucky enough to gig and jam and play occasional guest spots with the Square Pegs, or you know, with the various, with Colin, with Graham, with the different musicians, coming along to the Sugar Club and celebrating something that is a community who all love these kind of groups and those kind of places. So, you know, there's all of those things.
Yeah, it's a very special night. And Mary, you mentioned, so like would the band have been on rotation on the turntable at home when you were a child?
Oh, without question. I mean, again, I would say that every song that all of the band tracks across the board, everything was familiar and embedded in my memory. And of course, then with Brian, that would have been significant to you as well.
Yeah, of course. And the fact that their roots, the band's roots, were our roots as well. We, you know, refreshed ourselves at the same sources. And a lot of the songs that would be in our set as a blues band, Leave On would do as a solo artist.
It's always interesting.
You know, a lot of the influences, Memphis Minnie and Howlin' Wolf and all, we share those same roots, if you will. So to have played with the lads, now we played with Rick, with Leave On, we just hung, which was enough as far as I'm concerned.
And tell me about the time you spent with Leave On.
Well, because we played a bit with Rick through Becky, and he had guested with us here in Dublin a few times, we got the invitation to go out. We didn't play any music, but we had a laugh, and we smoked. I think I'm going to have to be honest about that one.
Brian shares certain, you know, habits.
Similar interests.
Similar interests.
But you know, the interesting thing was as well, we were talking about different experiences. So, for example, we would, and you know, to be, you know, over the years we've played with a number of amazing blues musicians, but one of the things that kept on coming back, we had a great opportunity to meet with John Lee Hooker, and that was completely unexpected and kind of one of these things you think, really, am I sitting here doing this? So similarly, in that situation, I found myself referring to musicians that we had worked with in the same way we were referring to people that we knew. So, you have all the time. So, for example, even, I thought it was funny, Maria Muldar.
Yeah, BB, we were
jammed
last week.
We jammed with Maria Muldar, and she was hilarious. She was supposed to, at the time, she should have been out on tour with Candide.
Yeah.
It was kind of a revival tour, and so that didn't work out. So Maria was really obviously kind of frustrated, but she was genuinely hilarious and really warm and very funny, and she did an excellent Joan Baez impersonation, which I have to say,
that's her.
That was very interesting to me because I felt the same way as what I was saying. But anyway, she was also, you jammed with her, and she was there like.
Thanks for asking. She said that I reminded her of Paul Butterfield, and then she said, "You can't play as good as Paul, but you remind me of him." And
I'm not sure if that was in good or bad way.
I could see she was a bit emotional, and I certainly was taking it as a compliment. But again, that route, when we played with the Square Pegs, we did the Paul Butterfield, who had jammed with the band. So all of those things, we would go out to Bearsville, and we swam in the same swimming holes and dig deep there.
Big Pink, we did, yes.
Big Pink,
And again, it's kind of one of those moments where you think, there is a reverential aspect to it, but there's also a really human, that's actually the place, and that's where this happens. And again, when you're engaged with music, sometimes I think when you stand, as a kid, music from Big Pink was like, and all of these things are enormously unattainable, and at the same time, maybe what appeals to me in blues is that it's people behind it, it's humanity behind it, and it's vulnerability. And in a way, I suppose, other things I love about Levon, I'm a really big fan of his acting, for example, and I think his characterization of someone who's kind of maybe desperate or lost or confused or of a different time. The different persona that he kind of brought to it in a real simple way, in a very underplayed kind of way.
You can see that from the outtakes from The Last Waltz when he's talking. He just has such magnetic screen presence. It was a natural transition.
But also really good humoured, in our experience, really good humoured, having a good laugh, enjoying himself, and actually really loving music and loving playing music. But I have to say, as a singer, the other thing that is really important for me is not only the drumming, but also his singing.
Of course.
And the singing and the harmonising, obviously, of the band, and kind of hearing that kind of, and there's something in that tone that actually is just completely identifiable. I actually remember years ago going on some weird radio music quiz thing, and they played a pop song a la the band. So people would be, who is that? And I was like, that's the band. I mean, but again, that identifiable. It's a particular sound. It is of those people coming together and working together.
Yeah. And what was it about the quality of Levon's voice that made it stand out?
I think I would, without any reservation, would say passion. So commitment and passion and kind of giving it and belief and really singing something that, as you often kind of comment, doing something from the inside out. It's not actually coming from a cerebral place, it's coming from a genuine.
Even when in The Last Waltz when he's playing Dixie, you can see me almost lifting himself up off the drum stool and just hollering into the microphone. It's a physical thing. But on to more imminent matters. This year, you guys are going to be joined on stage by
none other than Skinny Elvis themselves.
Yes.
We worked with the lads many years ago, and we thought it would be a good fit to get them back into the saddle.
So this is going to be actually quite a momentous occasion, seeing you all back on the same stage.
That's right. We're going to bring our flavour to it, and we're going to have the lads rocking it up, and with all of the appropriate howling and screeching and brilliant guitar work and all of the rest of it. So
they're authentic Americana as well.
It's also really exciting to be part of such an incredible lineup. So that's a fantastic night ahead. And one of the things, for example, we know the guys in the Stripes, and we've had good fun meeting with them and over the years. But one of the things when I've seen them live, absolutely, they just kick ass. I mean, they come out with energy, with power, with conviction, but also really tight. So I mean, in terms of a sort of an approach to taking something like the blues, for example, that was always something that was important to me. I would have grown up as much with a punk influence as with a blues influence. So not to be too reverential with blues, but to see the power in it. I mean, other things like the influence, we were talking about influences that Levon had, and influences like the early days, the Bo Diddley
Yeah.
reference, and
Sure.
again, you know, taking that kind of powerhouse of stuff that's just not, it's and so skinny and ourselves, skinny and not so skinny.
Well, you know, we have a long history with the lads, put it that way.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think one name that looms large that hasn't mentioned is Bob Dylan, of course,
Oh, yeah.
for the Woodstock connection. And one of our theme songs has been a Billy Boy Arnold obscure kind of blues track. Well, it's quite well known if you're a blues enthusiast. But we heard a Dylan album where he was using Billy Boy Arnold's band as a backing band,
Yeah.
and they played Maggie's Farm exactly the way they played Wish You Would.
It's like
So
one of those
we-
moments where you're saying, hang on a minute, I know
we
that song.
mixed that together, so
Yeah,
we have
yeah.
that connection, and you can feel that up in Woodstock. You know, when we were talking about meeting these people, it's that kind of a place where there is such a strong community that you do find people you coming to your gig and, you know, in the audience being amazed by who's sitting there.
Yeah.
And that kind of community, you know, we stayed in a place where they said, well, you know, that is the brass band that lay across my big brass band you're sleeping in. And I was, gee, we didn't know that. And, hey, you were out there by the bank of sand? That's the bank of sand where you watch the river flow.
And again, it's kind of
Really?
yeah.
It's sort of, it's almost like you can't believe it's happening. We were in, we saw Blondie sitting there having pancakes beside us while we had our little breakfast in the local diner.
You see, it's upstate New
It's a
York,
great-
so again, it's
it's a great
recreational
town.
for a lot of people,
Sure.
and then there's also a community, and there's the kind of
Yeah.
the sense of something is there, and there's always like that something that's imminent as
Yeah,
well. So
yeah.
maybe we're taking a little bit of that energy now, and you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
bringing it back
They'd be
home.
very quick
Yeah.
to tell you you're crap if you are. They'd be very quick to say that she's no good. You know, it's a very high echelon of musicians. And may I say, they all love Mary. So
And happily now in the Sugar Club, we'll have a very high echelon of musicians.
Yes,
Same
indeed.
thing, yeah.
And as you said, there is always a wonderful sense of community on the night and a celebration, as you said, for a very worthy cause.
Exactly.
Over
Yeah.
the years, we have raised just over 17,500, so we're hoping to break the 20,000 mark this year. So please do get on to sugarclub.com and pick up your tickets. Mary and Brian, thank you so much for
Thanks,
joining me
Richie.
today. I'm really looking forward to April 20th.